It's February, and it's one of the most heartfelt times of year for people like me. Heartfelt and exciting, and we just can't wait. Our heart flutters a little bit because it's the season when we get our hatchery catalogs. Yeah, I know, it's kind of pathetic that that's what my life has become, but that's what it's become. But anyway, I wanted to give you my top 5 tips for people that are considering getting chickens. I know that there is a lot to know, especially as you go through the years having and raising and, you know, having chickens grow and lay eggs and get sick or get hurt or die. You go through all the different things that you end up having to learn. But there are some real basic things, basic questions you need to ask, and basic preparation that goes into just those early months of having chickens. It's easy to just grab a handful of chicks from the feed store, pay for them of course, bring them home with a bag of feed and some pine shavings and just put it all in a cardboard box with a little heat lamp over it, and then it's just wonderful. You have these little chicks running around and they're just so cute, and they are cute, and you want them to bond with you, and you have all these grand plans for this adorable little coop that you saw online that is just small and will fit in the back corner of the yard, and it'll be just great. But there's some basics to all of that. You probably could get away with doing it just like that, but I guarantee you that you will come to regret some of the early decisions you make. You will adapt, you will change the way you do things, but for the most part, there are some questions that you need to answer and some preparation you need to make that can make or break your experience. And I'm going to go over those 1 through 5. I may throw some extra information in there as we go, but let's get started. First thing you're going to want to think about when you're getting chicks is housing. That's probably going to be your biggest challenge, especially if you live in the city, but housing is critical. And it's not just a matter of just shelter space big enough for the body of a chicken. What you need to take into account is chickens' behavior. Sorry about that darkness. And it's somewhat dark in here too, but basically what you need at the minimum is going to be 2 to 3 square foot per chicken. So if you have a flock of 8 chickens, which is the standard for a family of 4. You need 2 chickens per family member to provide enough eggs to feed a family of 4. And that's also somewhat breed specific. So 2 to 3 square feet inside their coop, and then 8 to 10 square feet in the run. That's per chicken. So multiply that by however many chickens you're planning to have, and you then know what your space requirements are. Obviously, chickens need room to roost and room to lay their eggs, but they're also going to need room so that they're not engaging in the kind of behavior that they will if they don't have enough space. And they'll pick at each other, and they will be stressed out, and some chickens don't get along with each other very well, and so that'll cause them to fight with each other, and it can lead to, worst case scenario, cannibalism. Where one chicken ends up with a wound from another chicken and they just all go after this chicken and kill it and then eat it. I've not had that happen, but then I've always been very careful about the square footage for my chickens. Even when I was starting, I did a lot of research about that. So when you're planning your coop and run space, 2 to 3 square feet inside per chicken, 8 to 10 outside. I free range my chickens, and so the run spaces, it is critical. If I didn't, then I would have to probably reconfigure what I currently have. Second thing to consider is feeding. You're going to need, at the bare minimum, a good quality chicken feed. Yes, you can feed them scraps. I would keep it to no more than 10% of their diet. If you do more than that, you may have some health issues. Just be very aware of that, and be very aware of what kind of scraps you're feeding them. I'll go over that in another video about what you shouldn't feed chickens. But just in general, cut down that ration to about 10% of their total diet. You're going to want to have, a way to store your feed, which, as you can see for me, is a very simple situation. Aluminum foil on an old grate from a Weber barbecue grill. Need to replace it because I poked some holes into it accidentally. But that has kept the mice out, and I've got this big tough bin that I keep it in. The mice don't have the ability to chew through that. Rats probably would, but I don't have a rat problem. At least I don't right now. I haven't had a rat problem. But I know some people do. They deal with rats. That's both in the city and the country. That's not just a city issue. So if you do have a rat problem in your area, you may want to consider like a galvanized garbage can to use as a feed bin. That'll keep the rats out. Something with a good solid fitting lid. But the feed you can get in a variety of places. Feed stores, grain mills, co-ops, places like that. I've even seen it at Walmart. But you're going to want to be looking for specifics in your feed. You want to have a good calcium content in there. You also want a good protein content. Around 16% protein, especially if they're going through any kind of a molt, anything like that. I'll up the protein more when my chickens are molting, but I try to keep them on a year-round ration of about 16% protein. You can also supplement with other things like mealworms, boonworms, fly larvae. You can give them cracked corn, whole corn. I give my full-grown chickens whole corn because it digests slower. And I give my bantams and my quail cracked corn because their crops are smaller and their mouths are smaller and they can handle that cracked corn a little better than the whole corn. That's your second consideration. Your third consideration is going to be security for your chickens. As you can see right there, that's our dog, Duncan. And you can see the chickens just walk around him and he isn't at all interested in them. But most of the time, dogs not only will chase chickens, they will kill them. They don't typically eat them. They kill them for fun. Dogs will come in and wipe out an entire flock in one go. If your dogs need to be trained, that's on you. If you don't have dogs, great. But dogs will find chickens in someone else's yard. They will dig under a fence. They will jump over a fence to get to chickens. So make sure that your yard is good and secure. If you don't have the ability to do that, then I would recommend not getting chickens, because you're asking for a very, very traumatic experience for you and for any chickens that survive. So think about security. That goes both ways. It's also to keep your chickens from wandering the neighborhood. They could get into all kinds of things, not the least of which getting run over by a car, getting attacked by a dog, getting hurt by neighbor kids that are not necessarily nice kids. They could get into poisons. They can get stuck somewhere. They could get lost. And they could also get stolen. But yeah, you're going to want to make sure your chickens stay in your yard. You may have to clip a wing, not both wings on your chickens. One wing if you have a chicken that's tending to want to jump up on your fence. It'll set them off balance. If you clip both wings, then they still have a good balance and they could still potentially use what they've got to get over or get up on a fence. I got Matthew's burning our branches that we just pruned down, and so I've got ashes floating in the air. But you're going to want to make sure that the chickens can't get under any fences and that no dogs can get under. Something that you can do either if you're free ranging is dig underneath your fence about 6 to 12 inches all around the perimeter, and then sink hardware wire and fan it out so that it's kind of, you know, sitting like that, and then cover it with dirt. So if anything tries to dig underneath, it's going to hit that wire, and that's going to be on the outside of your fence. If you've got a run that you're going to be keeping your chickens in rather than free ranging, you're going to want to do that around the run. When you're picking out your baby chicks, if you absolutely do not want to get a rooster and you cannot risk, you don't have a plan for a potential rooster that may be unplanned for, you didn't order roosters, you only ordered females, hens, and you ended up with a rooster, or you picked out a bunch from the bins at the Tractor Supply and one or more of them ended up being a rooster. If you're going to do it that way, you need to have a plan for what you're going to do with an unwanted rooster. Either you know a farmer that says, yeah, if you end up with one, I'll take him. Yeah, I'll take whatever you got. Or you have a local place that takes roosters. There are some. We have a couple places around here that will take them. But be very careful, because some of those places are, they run cockfighting operations and dog fighting. They'll use chickens and other animals to train dog fighting dogs. And that's not a life that you want to condemn a chicken to, or any animal. So have a plan for any unwanted roosters if you're going to be going about it that way. But if you want to guarantee yourself not to get a rooster, there are a few breeds called auto-sexing breeds where you can tell right from when they're a chick whether they're a male or a female. And there's salmon Faveroles. There are breeds called sex links. They come in a variety of colors, red and black and gold. I think there's a buff. There's various breeds where you can tell right when they're hatched whether they're a male or a female. So you'll have a knowledge of what you're getting when you buy them. And if your local feed place doesn't have them, they might be willing to order them for you, or you can order them online from a hatchery. And then if you have a hatchery in the area, you could just drive there and get some, rather than doing the whole shipping process. But that's how you'll guarantee you won't get a rooster. There's no other way to guarantee it. And you can order only hens from a hatchery, and they'll have a strong percentage of not having any roosters mixed in with your order. But there's always that chance when you're not getting an auto-sexing breed. If you order from a hatchery, you can order the auto-sexing breeds. Otherwise, you're taking your chances. When you look at the bins in your feed store, or whatever store you're getting them from, you're going to want to look for the marking on the bin. It'll say either pullets or straight run. If it says straight run, that means that they haven't even checked to see if they're hens or roosters. They've just taken a bunch of chicks and they just mixed them all into this bin. Sometimes they mix different breeds, but even if they're the same breed, if it says straight run, then you're taking your chances that there's going to be a rooster in the group that you choose. You can do a few things. There's not a guarantee, but you can do a few things to maximize your potential of getting only hens. One of the things I do is I look at their legs. I compare their legs. This is more reliable in turkeys, but even in chickens, the roosters tend to have longer, thicker legs. They also tend to stand more upright and walk more upright than the hens. The hens tend to walk a little more bent over. And personality-wise, if there's a chicken that seems to love you and wants you to pick it up, that's probably a rooster. Roosters tend to be much more social as chicks. They also tend to be more inquisitive. If you tap on the container they're in, they'll come running over to investigate it. If you scratch in the litter that they're in, they'll come running over to investigate it. Some hens might. Most of the hens won't, but the roosters will pretty reliably. Not a guarantee again, but that's a pretty good sure way that you've got a rooster there. And that can be really disappointing. It was for our first group, because I did that and I ended up picking a chick out because it kept following my finger. It was in this aquarium setup, and it kept following my finger, and I thought, oh look, it likes me, look, it's so cute. And I would put my hand down in there, it would hop into my hand and would let me hold it. Well, it ended up being a rooster. And I have found that that is more often than not how you can tell. So I would just avoid the ones that tend to be more social and inquisitive. Just eliminate them right off the top. But that can help. The last thing that in my top 5 tips is take into consideration your lifestyle in general, and that includes the lifestyle of your family. If you're expecting your kids to take care of the chickens, don't. That doesn't mean they won't. I have one child that helps pretty regularly. She likes the chickens, she likes to work with them, she likes to help with them. But most of the kids don't. And I don't expect them to, because this was my project, not theirs, so I don't expect it. But it is work, and you need to plan that into your lifestyle. Even if your kids say that they'll all help, you need to plan on you doing it. And maybe you'll get lucky, you won't have to, but probably won't get that lucky. You need to consider your particular setup for them. If you're going to be confining them to a smaller area, the smaller the area, the more likely it is it's going to turn into nothing but mud or nothing but dirt, because the chickens will scratch it up pretty good. We don't have that problem because we have a huge yard and they don't have one particular area that they're working all the time looking and foraging. But I also have to protect my gardens, and I can't have anything out here like flower pots and things like that that aren't protected from them, because they will dig them up, they will destroy them, and they will also get into the garden and destroy that too. Dig up seedlings, go after the vegetables. It's just, I have to protect my gardens from them because they will get in there and destroy it. So if you have a beautifully landscaped, perfectly groomed lawn and garden that you want to keep, then you're going to need to keep your chickens away from it. I let my chickens into my garden areas during the late fall after I've harvested them, and into spring just before I'm ready to plant, because they'll till it up, they'll take care of any bad insects that I don't want in there, they'll till it to a certain degree, turn stuff over. I try to put things like, I put leaves, chopped up leaves, all over my garden area, and just leave it sit through the winter, and the snow sits on top of it and kind of pushes it down and helps to break it down. But the chickens do a lot of that too. So, you know, I do have them do a certain amount of work, and they drop their poo all over the garden, and that's full of nitrogen, and that's really good for the garden. But overall, if you are concerned about landscaping, either protect it from your chickens or confine your chickens from it. And there's a lot of different ways you can do that, and it's up to you how you do it, but that's the rule of thumb. Either protect it from your chickens or confine your chickens from it. That's pretty much it. The only other thing that I could throw in there maybe as a last little suggestion is think about the breeds that you're getting. I have a mixed flock, so I have all different breeds of chickens. And some of them are considered cold tolerant, and others are considered more heat tolerant. So I have to have a setup that it keeps the ones that are not so cold tolerant warm through the winter, but doesn't overheat the cold tolerant ones in the summer. But that's a video for another time. So in the meantime, do your homework before you get chickens. Know what you're getting into. Know if that's really what you want to get into for the long term, because a chicken's going to live for, could live as much as 12 years. Some more, but an average is about 10 to 12 years. But they're not going to be laying that whole time. Oh, one last thing, when you're choosing chickens and you're looking at those bins, understand that some of those chickens are what we call meat chickens. They will have names on them like Cornish cross. You do not want a meat chicken if what you're looking for is a laying hen. The meat chickens are specifically engineered to grow very rapidly, put on a lot of meat, and then they are so big by the time they're about anywhere from 10 to 12 weeks old that if you allow them to live beyond that, they will not only be miserable, they will have leg problems, they could become crippled, they could be sickly. They are not going to do well, and they're going to be very miserable. They may start laying eggs, but that's just one more stress you're adding to their life. So be very careful about the breeds. Know the names of the meat chickens. I think your most common will be called Cornish cross. So be aware of that. And that's again why it's better to order from a hatchery, because they'll separate those out in the catalog and on their website, whereas the feed stores don't necessarily. And we made that mistake in our first group and ended up with 2 meat chickens that we had to butcher, and it was not what we had planned for. So there you have it. That's my top 5 tips. Like I said, it's by far not a comprehensive look at raising chickens, and there's plenty of information on the internet out there that you can search particular topics. You can get on sites where people can express to you the frustrations they've had, or the problems they've faced, or the successes that they've had, the genius ideas they've come up with, the creative ways that they've had of raising or housing or feeding chickens. There's plenty of information out there. Hopefully these top 5 have given you a good start, given you the most important things to think about. If there's anything that you think of that I didn't cover, or that you have a question about, or you want me to go into more detail on, shoot me a comment down below. I have a more comprehensive video on what you need to know, what I wish I had known before getting chickens. I'm going to link that down below, so you can watch that if you want more details on it. I do cover some of the same things I just did, but I think it's, some people just want kind of, just give me the top 5 and, you know, I'll think about all the rest later. I just want the top 5 for right now, especially if you're faced with, oh, they've got chicks right now. What do I need to know? Tell me quick. So that's why I did this video. Hopefully it covered it quickly enough. Otherwise, you know, just shoot me a question and I'll be happy to answer it. And if it's a suggestion for a video you'd like to see, you know, again, shoot me a comment and I'll try to make videos of whatever you want to see. So until then, hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell, because that's the only way you're going to know if I've put up a new video. And you know, it helps this channel to grow if you subscribe. I'm going to keep putting videos out there regardless, but it would be nice if I knew people really liked what I put out there. So, you know, consider giving it a like, and what it'll do is it'll end up pushing more of my videos out there for other people. So, you know, that's all I can think of right now. Till the next video, have a good day. You can put... Oh, is it already running? Well, go grab that tap. We're tapping our maple tree for the first time.
I feel like the little boy in the dam. Dutch boy at the dam.
The little Dutch boy. Now you're going to need to tap that in with a hammer until it thuds.
Or a stick.
Or a stick or a rock. You know, just something to just tap it in.
Well,
Can you get it in?
Put the hose on it so we can at least start catching it.
Yeah.
No, I didn't realize it was so thin.
Yeah, well, this is our little makeshift setup.
Why is it just not fitting on there too well, is it?
Well, it's supposed to be a good solid fit, so that's good. Well, it doesn't have to go all the way on. Just get it on there any old way.
Oh man.
Well, sap is definitely running. Just until it thuds. Oh, it's leaking. Or no, I guess it's in the hose.
It's in the hose. Oh, right. Might be enough.
Just until it thuds. There you go, it's thudding. It's in.
It's done.